Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to continue our NFL predictions for Week 4. And last week, I went 8-8. Yeah, slightly less chaotic like than Week 2, but still, this season has still been a chaotic mess regardless. And after this week, we'll be entering the bye week season, so things are going to be even crazier. But you know what? Let's not waste any time. And we're going to talk about the first game. And seriously, NFL do this every single year with these two. Why is Cowboy and Giants always on prime time, regardless if the Giants suck this year? But I'll give the Giants this. They won last week over the Cleveland Browns because both teams told us that the Browns are a bigger mess than they are. And Malik Neighbors, he's already looking like a candidate for offensive rookie of the year. Meanwhile, for the Cowboys, after a week 1 high, this team fell off a cliff. Two straight home losses. This time they got shellacked by the Baltimore Ravens. No, don't let that 28-25 score fool you. They tried to come back in the fourth quarter, only to come up short. But first half, they got blown out 21-6. And dating back to week 2, they got blown out 35 to like 13. And then back to the playoff game, 27-3. So the last 3 home games, the Cowboys have been getting blown out at home in the first half. But now, at least they're on the road this time, taking on a division opponent that they've had an increasingly good amount of success against. I'm saying that very lightly. If you don't know, Dak Prescott started off his career 0-2 against the Giants, but since then knocked off 12 straight starts in wins for this team against the New York Giants. He basically owns the Giants. And looking at this game, even though I think the Giants are going to make this close, I am going to pick the Cowboys to win. And it's mostly off of that narrative alone. But Dallas, y'all really got to learn how to stop the run. And next up, we have is the New Orleans Saints taking on the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, they played an okay game against the Chiefs, but in the end, they came up very short. I did not like that fourth down play call at the end. And the New Orleans Saints lost their first game of the season to the Philadelphia Eagles, where their high flight offense was shut down and silent. Now, this game is a divisional opponent, so expect the unexpected. I partially was leaning towards the Saints to win this game, but I think if the Falcons can feed off the momentum of last week, I'm gonna roll with the Falcons to win. I feel like they're due for an explosive game. I feel like we have not seen that out of them yet, but it's coming. And oh god, we got the Rams taking on the Bears. Luckily for the Rams, they won their first game last week, despite not having their top 2 leading receivers, most of their offensive line, and pretty much every person on the team being injured. They came from behind to beat the 49ers. Good for them. Meanwhile, for the Bears, I, I fell for it again. I bought into the Chicago Bear hype, and it's once again biting me in the ass. This time, they lost to the Colts last week. Caleb Williams did throw his first touchdown, but he looks kind of lost on the field, or for lack of a better word. This game is being played in Chicago. Normally, when these two teams play, I don't expect a lot of scoring, but now given that there are some injuries with the Rams, never know. The game's being played in Chicago. I was gonna pick the Bears to win, but I'm gonna give the slight edge to the Rams. The Rams showing us that we may be short, but we'll find a way to win a game. I'm going with the Rams on the road. And then we have an NFC North battle between the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. Vikings, I called it last week. They were going to, yes, I did call last week that they were going to beat the Houston Texans, but holy smokes, I did not expect them to do what they did. It was 34-7, and we'll talk about the Texans a little more later on. But kudos to the Vikings. Kudos to Sam Darnold. Kudos to Kevin O'Connell. They're Right now, things are going very well for this organization. Meanwhile, for the Packers, they won on the road against the Tennessee Titans. Malik Willis got his revenge, and their defense is also looking pretty good. Now, in this game, they are expect some people are expecting Jordan Love to return. He missed the last two games with a MCL sprain. He was back at practice last week. He might practice a little more this week, and there's a good chance he plays this week. And when I make these predictions, I feel like every time I go against the Packers, they win. I mean, they lose. I mean, whatever the case is, I'm actually not falling for it this time. And I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers to win. It's being played in Lambeau, so that's going to give them a chance. And yeah, going with the Packers. Following that, we have the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts got a win last week over the Chicago Bears at home, but it was an ugly win. But hey, a win's a win. You got to start somewhere. Meanwhile, for the Steelers, 3-0 somehow, getting a win over the previously unbeaten Chargers. And this time, Justin Fields was able to do a little more than he did the first two games. But that defense, whew, like I said it before and I said it again. TJ Watt's the best defensive player in the league right now. Now that Aaron Donald's retired, TJ Watt is running away with that top defensive player. Every week he's making some sort of speed play, kicking his leg up high. It's just insane on how great this guy is week in, week out. Game's going to be played in Indianapolis, but given that the Colts are playing very inexperienced football, I know they beat them last year. I gotta go with the unbeaten Steelers to win for this one. And following that, we have the Nathaniel Hackett Bowl, second generation, with the Denver Broncos taking on the New York Jets. Broncos, they got a win last week. I bet none of y'all seen that coming. Blowing out the Broncos on the road. It was a minute 1 to minute 60 domination with the Broncos. Bo Nix got his first win. Kudos to him. Meanwhile, for the Jets, things are starting to piece up for them as well. They beat the New England Patriots 24-3 on Thursday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers is slowly getting back to his normal self. I did say it was going to take a few weeks for him to get going, but he's getting it going regardless. Game being played in MetLife Stadium. I do got Nathaniel Hackett and his New York Jets to win the game. And next up, we have a rematch of the NFC Wild Card round with the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucks coming off of a inexplicable loss to the Broncos. I bet they didn't see that coming. And the Eagles, a surprising road win over the New Orleans Saints. Although they basically won that game, if you ask me, they only won the game by like 2 plays. The Saquon Barkley long touchdown run and the Dallas Goedert long catch and run late in the 2-minute warning. That's how they won the game. Other than that, the Eagles have been playing very questionable, kind of uninspired football. And because Jalen Hurts, to me, he's been very underrated. He's been very overrated this year. And with this game likely being without A.J. Brown again, they could be without Devontae Smith. So the Eagles are going to be very, very short-handed on the pass catching department. And because of that, and the fact the game's being played in Tampa, I am going to go with the Buccaneers to win. Oh yeah, on another side note, someone tell C.J. Gardner-Johnson to shut up because he blabbed like the Saints. Oh, they had Derek Carr. Whoop-de-doo. That's why we won. But come on, dude. You should be the last person to talk, given that you was basically burnt toast the last 2 weeks. The 1 week you don't burn toast, you didn't get cooked, you decide to go on the field and talk a bunch of crap. That just really irks my nerves. And following that, we have the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Carolina Panthers. And whoever thought that both of these teams would combine for 1 win each. Better question, who ever thought that one win would come from the Carolina Panthers, who got the win over the Raiders on the road for their first road victory in over a year? Andy Dalton, he looked amazing. 300 yards passing. The Panthers also had a 100-yard effort from Chuba Hubbard, and he also had a 100-yard effort from Deontay Johnson. And it basically proved ESPN and Fox Sports 1 wrong about their takes on Bryce Young. Meanwhile, the Bengals, another heartbreaking loss. I don't know what they got. I don't know what the Bengals should do at this point. Yes, they're 0-3, but the losses come a very tough loss to New England, which shocked everyone. Then they kind of got screwed over by Kansas City, even though that was kind of pass interference. And then their defense not to show up against the Commanders. Something is in the water in Cincinnati, and I'm not liking it. And this team should be way better than an 0-3 start. Now, this game, even though this game is being played in Charlotte, there is optimism. I did float the idea of picking the Panthers to win. However, Cincinnati, they're desperate now. They have to win. This is a must-win game for Cincinnati if they want any chance for a playoffs. Because if they start off 0-4, pack the season up. And next up, we have, speaking of desperate teams, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Houston Texans. And both teams are coming off losses, and both teams coming off of blowout losses at that. We had the Texans getting blown out by the Vikings, which, again, I did say I predicted the Vikings to win, but not in blowout fashion. And Jaguars getting blown out by the Buffalo Bills. And you know what's crazy? I don't consider the Jaguars the worst team in the league. You're going to see who I think it is later on. But, man, Jacksonville looks terrible. And, like, the collapse is still collapsing from last year. It's carrying on to this year. Trevor Lawrence, he has not been playing good at all. And they paid him all that money for him to be their franchise savior. The defense, I know they have a couple injuries here and there. So that might be an excuse. But let's be real. This team isn't well coached and well managed properly. And the minute Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke get the axe, brighter days will be ahead for Jacksonville. Meanwhile, for the Texans, I do see them winning this game. I think this is going to be a bounce back game. And hopefully, last week was just a bad day. It happens. And then we have the 2-1 Commanders, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The Commanders getting a statement Monday night win over the Bengals. And Jaden Daniels, he looks amazing. More touchdowns, 3, than incompletions, 2, that game. And yeah, he looks really, really great. Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals, they had a tough loss over the Lions. I thought that game was going to be a little more competitive and slightly more high scoring, but I guess not. Now, this game is going to be played at Arizona. Hopefully, my high scoring prediction will come true again in this one. And with that being said, picking this game as a toss-up, I was going to lean towards Washington to win this game, but I'm going to give the slight edge to the Arizona Cardinals to win. I do think they're going to bounce back. It is not to shade the Commanders. I do think this is going to be a great little battle, the possible battle of the future. And now we have the New England Patriots taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Patriots losing 24-3. Jacoby Brissett, he's getting beat up on the field a lot this year. And the 49ers, they're pretty much a beat-up team. Injuries is once again the name of the game. And they had a 24-14 lead against the Rams, but they lost that lead, and they're now 1-2. But I want to give the congratulations to the 49ers because they're, as of the making of this video, of course, they're the first team to be a double-digit favorite this year. And we all thought any game against Carolina would be the case. And with that being said, I do think even the 49ers B team will probably beat the New England Patriots. But if they lose this game, oh boy, the discourse is going to be interesting. And then we have the Cleveland Browns taking on the Las Vegas Raiders, and both teams coming off of inexplicable losses. First off, the Raiders losing to a Carolina team that had a bunch of negative press the week prior to now. And now Antonio Pierce, there's starting to be getting some rumblings about him. They're quiet, but I'm hearing some rumblings. It was pretty much an inexcusable loss for the Raiders. And speaking of inexcusable losses, Cleveland Browns losing to the Giants. And once again, Deshaun Watson proving to everyone that he's an overpaid bum. And yes, I don't use the word bum lightly. And this game's being played in Vegas. And like with the Packers, I feel like every time I pick Cleveland to win, they lose. And every time I pick them to lose, they win. I'm going to pick the Raiders to win, which means, knowing my luck, Cleveland will probably pull off a rabbit out of the hat. But I just trust the Raiders' defense. I don't expect this game to have a lot of scoring. This game might be pretty ugly, to say the least. But yeah, give me the Raiders to win. And then we have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chiefs, 3-0, beating the Falcons with the side of the refs. But anyways, they're looking like the best team in the league. Rashid Rice. I'm gonna ask him this. Let me ask you this question. Y'all think Rashid Rice might be the best player on that team? One of the best receivers in the league right now? That's something to think about. But meanwhile, for the Chargers, road loss to the Steelers, but Justin Herbert has an ankle sprain that he tried to play through, but he ended up getting knocked out of the game last week. He couldn't finish. And I think looking at this game, he probably might sit this one out. And if he does sit this one out, I think the Chiefs will not have a problem here. And I think this will be the game Travis Kelce will finally show up, as he's been historically good against the Chargers. And this takes us right into Sunday Night Football, where the Buffalo Bills taking on the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens got their first win of the season against the Dallas Cowboys, where someone thumped them in the head and realized they could win the game by running the ball. And they ran the ball extremely well against a depleted Dallas Cowboys front. Meanwhile, the Bills are also a contender of the best team in the league. Honestly did not see the Bills being this good this early already. And Damar Hamlin, congratulations to him. He had his first career interception. Bills, Josh Allen, he was amazing Monday night. And coming into the season, I thought the Bills were going to take a step back because they lost a bunch of players in the skill position. But turns out, look like Josh Allen looks better without him. He could finally spread the ball around. Maybe that is what's needed for him. And this game going to be played in Baltimore, and I'm surprised Baltimore is even favored in this one. I've actually gone back and forth on who will win this game. Part of me wants me to take Buffalo, but you know what? I'm going to give probably my upset pick of the week the slightest of edges to the Baltimore Ravens. The game's being played at home, prime time. I think this game's going to feature a lot of running. Give me the Ravens to win this game. And then we have, oh God, a terrible Monday night matchup. A rematch of a thrilling game last year between the Tennessee Titans and the Miami lowly Dolphins. And before I talk about both teams, I watched a recent video. They saying who's the worst team in the league, and someone said none of the winless teams fit that billing. You know who did? The Miami Dolphins. If you think about it, they had to come from behind against Jacksonville, blown out by the Bills week 2, blown out by the Seahawks week 3. And their offense, let's be real, without Tua, this team sucks. They know it, we know it. And meanwhile, for the Titans, they're finding new ways to recreate memes. Will Levis is 0-3. He currently leads the league in turnovers. In this game, he's going to be pretty much, although he did get a surprise win last year, but there are they're starting to hear some rumblings about Will Levis, possibly not being the guy. But this game's being played in Miami, and if they're starting Tim Boyle this week, I heard Skylar Thompson's he's too hurt. Yeah, this is going to be an ugly matchup. Titans, y'all better get a first win this week or else. And last but not least, my game of the week. I honestly did not predict this coming, but it is the Seattle Seahawks, unbeaten at 3-0, taking on the Detroit Lions in their first ever blackout game. The Lions got a nice road win. I thought they was going to put more points up against the Cardinals, but go show you that their defense they're stepping up a bit. Meanwhile, Seattle, their defense have always been there this year. Mike Macdonald is doing an amazing job with this team. They're 3-0. The offense, they're making the plays at the right time. Now, I did pose this little statement saying that the Detroit Lions' biggest kryptonite has been the Seattle Seahawks. I think Seattle has been on a massive winning streak against this team. In the last 2 games that have been played against these two were thrilling games. 2022, we saw the scoregami game where the Lions put up 45 points and lost because Seattle put up 48. Last year, we had an overtime thrilling game where Seattle drove down the field to score a touchdown to call a game. And this year, I think this is going to be another one of those example games. But I hope the Lions this time they go over the hump to get the win. But I think this is probably one of those games where somebody is just going to have to lose. Both teams are going to give it everything they have, and they're going to leave it on the field. And that concludes my Week 4 predictions. Tell me what y'all think in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Please gamble safely, and I'll see you next time.